It's high at 95. And for the daytime in the Coachella Valley, expect sunshine, highs at 109. I'm forecaster Jimmy O'Neill for Smart Talk 1490 KMET.
That's right. It's the morning show here on ABC News Radio, KMET, 1490 AM. I'm Aaron Michael Sanchez. Good to have you, each and every one of you, with us. We got a lot of stories today. We've got a lot of things going on in the world. And we're checking out social media chat room, seeing how you guys are tuning in and where you're tuning in from. Many of you watch via social media, whether it be Facebook or, we're on LinkedIn, also YouTube Live. And if you're not following us already, somewhere, somehow, just find us at Aaron M. Sanchez or KMET 1490 AM. We'll repost there as well. We've got a lot of great programming as well, including today. Today we've got some great, well, Jesse knows. Jesse, what's going on today?
Yes. After us, we have Here's to Your Health. And then we have the Dave Levine show. He always talks about law and order stuff. We always have the amazing Dave Ramsey, who likes to tell us to save and get out of debt.
Yeah.
Which isn't as easy as some people want to say it is, but it is what it is. Then we have One Life Radio, the Kevin McCullough show after that. And after that, we have the amazing Tech Zone with Paul Lane. Then we have West Coast Business Review, another great show about businesses throughout the West Coast.
Nice. Okay. All right. So we got some great stuff. I'm pretty sure the tech show is going to be pretty good. I can imagine. Pauline's always got some good stuff going on over there. Maybe we could have him on to talk about his show, see what we can, share. I know there's a lot of things in technology. I had a conversation. It was interesting about AI. And it was over at the Produce By conference over at Fox Studios, which oddly enough, Jesse, it was kind of weird because I was there and I was kind of like, all right, there was like a feeling of just difference. And then at the end, when I was listening to some crew there, they're like basically just a lot for rent because a lot of the property from Fox went over to Disney. It got sold out, right? So I was like, huh. So it was kind of like, some of the people there were kind of like, yeah, we're just basically a rental house, you know what I mean? Which I thought was interesting because they were promoting it to the producers, in the room, so to speak, known as the Produced By Conference, thrown by the Producers Guild of America. But I had a conversation with one, which was promoting Microsoft, right? And, sometimes people don't understand, like, the technology behind movies, which is planning, production, writing a script and then getting it distributed to others, making sure shot lists are good to go, doing everything basically virtually so they don't have to be in the same room. You could be on location and then talk to the director. I know we've had technology here on the show, including a good friend, Damon Schrottberger, who actually has been able to help shows like Netflix and others that, do their own stuff with kind of having like a broadband service out like, somewhat in the boondocks, but away from the city, right? Where like, if you were to go into a hotel for the night, you would have like little to no like upload capability where they're able to basically in a pack put it all together so you have good like high definition streaming that you can send on location. So as you shoot, you send it to an editor, the editor shoots it. Doesn't shoot it, but well, they can shoot it in a way, reshoot it, or say, look, we need this shot, this shot, this shot, but they can edit on the fly right there and then. Ozark has done this, other shows have done this. It's how they get them out really quick and fast, and they get to basically the screen really fast. So the investor or the people that put the money in get the return quicker and faster, right? But in talking to the one who was talking about technology, we were talking about AI, and he was kind of like, no, it's not there yet. And I go, it is there. That's what Facebook had. That's why they shut it down when it started to create its own language. And I was like, how does a guy that works for Microsoft not know that? You know what I mean?
Right? I mean, that's a scary story in itself. I don't think a lot of people know that story, though.
Yeah, I think it kind of like missed on some people's radar. And I go, what's the implications of that? I say, is it, for example, and you and I The moment we say Terminator, people go, yeah, right, it's never going to happen. I say, do you understand the bots that they're actually creating right now are almost lifelike now? You watch a lot of TikTok, right?
Oh yes, I do.
Yeah, TikTok has a lot of new stuff on there known as news, and a lot of people are watching it and they're kind of getting fed some things. And I don't know why, but, of course, it kind of makes its way over onto other social media platforms like Instagram, meaning, people reshare. But the point is, everybody's like wondering what's going to happen with technology in the future. And I say, well, if you kind of look at past hypotheses known as shows and or short stories about technology, you understand the implications of what do we do, when do we do, how do we do, right? If you were like being, I posed this question to my mom the other day, and I said, what if you could upload your consciousness to a robot, right? Would you? And she's like, oh God, I don't want to think about that, right? Which is good, because you wouldn't want to put your consciousness into a robot or a thing, because now you would essentially wake up in that thing. But would it be you or would it not be you? There's so many movies about the subject, but I would say I would never want to be like that, because people don't understand when you can't feel or you'd be freaked out. You know what I mean? So now you're doomed to a bot without being able to be put into a human being. You know what I mean? So there's so many like questions, and I think for sci-fi fans, it's a good question to ask. It's a good question to kind of go, and that's why I like movies that have that, and a lot of movies do, because they kind of cover the what do I do, when do I do, how do I do. Like, for example, Jurassic Park. I want to see that, but I haven't seen any news about that. Have you seen anything, Jesse?
Actually, now that you mention it, no, I haven't heard anything about it, which is really weird.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of like, what's going on there? I kind of want to, right? Like, I haven't heard anything, so I'm like, all right, do I see it? Do I not see it? I don't know. I think it's going to be a fun something to watch, so we'll figure that out. Do a big shout out to Rosalie tuning in. Says, good morning, beautiful people. Happy Wednesday. Yes, it is a happy Wednesday. Let's see. Janet tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. Brenda tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. We got a lot of things to talk about, but we're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, we got more, including some news that Jesse's been wanting to share about something going on in the world. We'll talk about that next here on The Morning Show. Stay tuned.
Join West Coast Business Review with Daryl McCants each Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock p.m. Daryl focuses on successful businesses from California's southern border to Canada, including the great border states of Arizona and Nevada. Every week, Daryl provides in-depth discussions and interviews with prominent leaders and innovators that makes all of our lives better and more productive. West Coast Business Review with Daryl McCants, Wednesdays at 4 o'clock p.m. right here on Smart Talk Radio.
When it comes to health and well-being, cellular hydration is the key. You could say that hydration is the key to every wellness program. And structured water in its natural state, is the key to cellular hydration. Most of the water available to us has been processed for purity, safety, and convenience. But processing causes water to lose its natural hexagonal structure, with unfortunate effects for our bodies. Now you can take your personal hydration to a whole new level with the glassware that restructures water in just 3 minutes. Golden Ratio Products brings you these amazing water bottles, carafes, and drinking glasses which put the life back into the water you drink. Try it and you'll be amazed at the effects you feel in your body. Go to goldenratioproducts.com for the next phase of your water consciousness.
Out the door, in the car, off to work. The same old morning routine. Take a break and stop for hot coffee or a latte and a fresh homemade cinnamon roll or chocolate cream pie. Donut Delight on Highland Springs Road in Banning is a locally owned family business with a friendly staff and customers who are always glad to see you. Get your morning off to a great start at Donut Delight on the corner of Highland Springs Road and Ramsey Street, right off the I-10 freeway. Serving the Pass area for 22 years. Donut Delight is open at 4:30 a.m. daily.
Hello, listeners. This is Christopher from The Christopher Show. Hey, if you missed one of our shows here at KMET, don't worry about it. You can go to our webpage, and that's KMET1490am.com. Go to the homepage, click on the SoundCloud tab, and hear any show anytime you want. Your Pharmacy and Mobility Solutions is now Beaumont Pharmacy with a new location at the Sundance Corporate Center. That's at the corner of Highland Springs and 8th in Suite 110. Of course, they still have Pack Your Meds. No more counting out the pills, dropping them on the floor. Oh, what a mess. And they have a full selection of pharmaceutical CBD. Wheelchairs, over-the-counter meds, you name it, they've got it. So if you're looking for the best and you want the best pharmacy, you go to Beaumont Pharmacy at their new location, 835 North Highland Springs, Beaumont Avenue in Beaumont, California, Suite 110. Give them a call, 951-845-8252.
Welcome back. Yes, it is the morning show here on ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 AM. We got Jesse Sanchez over there. Jesse, what's going on?
Oh my God. So, yeah, apparently this story happened a couple days ago about a tractor trailer abandoned on a country road in Texas.
Yeah.
And, yeah, Border Patrol took a look and found just stacks of dead bodies. Which I just like. Yeah, apparently the vast majority of them were dehydrated from the heat because, come on, it's Texas. It's probably like 100 something. Lord knows how hot it was inside this trailer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is the biggest one that there's been so far. Just like mass crossing or something like that, and just deaths in a trailer or something like that. But there was a report. I'm trying to find it. Apparently, they were saying that they were using meat tenderizer to mask the scent of the dead bodies.
You're kidding me.
No, that's what some people were saying on the radio. I'm trying to find it in an actual news thing, which is...
Yeah, I'm seeing something here as well. It's saying Texas migrant truck was covered in spices to hide odor of 51 dead bodies. Well, I wonder who was involved to get them transported in the first place, and then who is the one to profit off of it? Because it's a big business. People don't understand how big of a business it is, and it's the ones that actually, some say, well, they're doing like them a service. I get that. In this way, it's who's covering up what many would determine murder, because at the end of the day, it sounds like they're covering up ahead of time, right? With spices, right? So
you know what? That makes sense. I'd be like, why would you put spices unless you would know that they're gonna die?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, according to this, well, that's disgusting and yet weird at the same time. Sorry, I am seeing the steak seasoning to mask odor. Like, what steak seasoning do you use to mask an odor of dead bodies? How long have they been dead, Jesse?
You know what? The article that I'm reading does not even say, and that's just horrifying. Like, oh my God. But yeah, 50 something dead people trapped in they're all, oh my God. I'm trying, it's hard to gather words about this because, like, it's just a tragedy in itself, and just it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Just try and cross that border because you don't know who's just trying to take your money or kill you. Yeah. I don't blame them. They're just trying to find a better life. What I don't like are some of the comments that I read on these stories in Facebook. Is for people who are supposed to praise life, your comments do not show it.
Oh, I get it. Double standard, huh? It's like, yeah, I got it. All right. So okay, here's okay. I do have a couple questions. Let me read what I found. All right, Justin, and we could kind of hopefully figure this out together. It says law enforcement officials said many of the estimated 100 people jammed into the tractor trailer in San Antonio. Now, so if there's 50 some dead, that means there's more alive that survived, right? So,
from what I read, there were 16 survivors, 12 adults and 4 children.
Okay. So this is information. Maybe I have it a little late, but here's what I have. They appear to have been covered in spices to cover up the smell during the human smuggling tragedy, according to a newspaper in Texas. Now, a cry for help coming from the 18-wheeler that was found abandoned on the southern outskirts of town on Monday evening led to the discovery of stacks of bodies inside the vehicle. Okay, so evidently somebody heard something. It was just parked there in the sun, right? And, I mean, tractor trailers are not like, they don't have, like, coolers on the inside, right? It says bodies were found for blocks around the truck's location. I don't know what that means. Suggests that some of the migrants had tried to make their escape while the vehicles were moving. Okay, all right. So they tried to get out, but somehow they were dying along the way. What happened? It says the rig had been made to look like a properly registered truck in an effort to evade detection. All right, it's basically unmarked from what I see. It says the truck was cloned, said the owner of a local Alamo-based trucking company, with it painted to match one of his own, right down to his legal vehicles Department of Transportation registration number. Okay, so he's like, dude, not me, right? And they do that, right? He's like, no, that's not mine, right? That's called, they're covering their tracks, right? So they're very sophisticated. There was a, go ahead.
No, it said it was made to look like a refrigerator truck, but it was not a refrigerator truck at all. No AC, nothing.
Yeah, but and when he says clone, it's a term for those in the biz to say, uh-oh, like we got. So I would say, how did they find out about your company to clone your company to kind of make you go away when in reality they want to stay? You know what I mean? It's a huge money-making thing. Each life, I think, by some estimates, is worth about 80 to 90,000. All right, meaning that's what they get paid to move one person from one place to another, right? Now, there's other things known as human trafficking for, like, girls that is sometimes a thing, and those are ones that are kind of robbed from their home, and then they're drugged up, and then they're transported. That's a whole other thing, right? So I think people should be asking themselves the question, is that what this is, you know? And even if it's not, it's still human lives, kind of like, you know what I mean? It's just, it's somebody's covering something over. I hope they get it. I could imagine the FBI are involved on this. But yeah, pretty interesting stuff. I'm looking at the story, and temperatures in San Antonio reached 103 degrees. You don't want to be in a truck like that. Like you don't want to leave your child in a vehicle, right? It was they succumbed to the heat. According to this, the fatalities involved 39 males and 21 females. Okay, the truck suffered a failure when it was abandoned, with the driver, let's see, it says the driver nabbed trying to flee the scene on foot. Oh, they got the driver. Okay. Well, he probably knows not a lot. He probably is paid to drive it, but not know the whole, you know what I mean? That's how these things, they kind of get only a little, but they don't get a lot. Because they know at some point, some are going to get, like, searched, some are going to get discovered, and some are going to just, like, you know what I mean? So usually, the FBI have a hard time figuring out who's at the top, right? And it's always some kind of guy who's profiting from the money. And because it's a cash business, it's very difficult to track, right? So it's going to be an interesting investigation. I know there's a way to get them, and it's actually this. Go back to all the areas that these people are from. If you can find which ones are alive still, go to the area and then find out who knows who in that area. So it's basically an international thing that has to happen between Mexico and us, right? Or international waters. Because sometimes what people don't say is that it's not always Mexico being transported. Sometimes it's Chinese, right? Coming in from a ship. Sometimes it's the Philippines. Maybe it's, other areas like, Korea. You know, people, when they say migrants, they automatically assume, oh, they must be, land, which I would imagine they are being in that area. I'm not going to lie. But it happens to people, and people are people, period, of story, which is what you're saying. That, people are kind of like weird on social media because they're like, well, you know what I mean? It's like, dude, this is a life. Either way, and sometimes people don't ask the obvious, why are people willing to put their life in jeopardy, because many are, to come into the States, right? I remember one show, and it was hilarious. I kid you not. It was, I think, Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller gets, like, thrown back into, he gets thrown into Mexico, and then he wants to get back into America, so he has, do you remember that one? I don't remember what that was.
Oh, yes, I remember. Yeah, because he got married in Mexico, and then he finds out that his wife is crazy. And so he ends up falling in love with somebody else, and she finds out. Yeah, so it's I think it's called The Heartbreak Kid.
Okay.
And he loses everything. He gets stuck in Mexico, so he's trying to get home, And yeah, it does not work well for him at all.
Got it. All right. So yeah, that's a thing, and that's why I say be careful getting south of the border without your documentation, because getting back into the states can be a little difficult. And I remember him doing exactly that, going from one place to another, and then doing what they call, I think they call them coyotes, right, or coyotes, or whatever they call them, and they get them across the border. But you got to pay them a certain amount, and sometimes it's not as easy. So that's kind of situation. Some people are just a little too much. Oh, look at this. Sorry, I'm just looking at this. The ice is on this. All right, that makes sense. I have a feeling drugs are involved too, Jesse. I think drugs are involved because sometimes they use ones as mules to traffic drugs as well at the same time. People don't know this, but that's how they double down on their investment, as they say. So it takes the international thing to happen. I think it would be the best thing since sliced bread, and then just make it available for people to have income in Mexico by, like I keep saying, I said it on yesterday's show at the end, when Jesse and I, and sometimes I stay on, it's called the after show, I call it, on my Facebook and social media platforms to discuss some of the things that we're going to be facing in the future. And honestly, we can honestly work together with Mexico and or Canada on the same continent, and just have manufacturing facilities kind of all over the place, right? And then put people to work, because we buy things from China, but as we know, Beijing, Shanghai, other areas now are out of lockdown for like 3 to 4 months from coronavirus. They say they stamped it out. I don't know if they stamped it out, but they at least are going now back to work. They did what we did in 2020, but we did only for a few weeks. They did it for like months because it was that bad, and that will be reported on in the next few days. But the point is, we could work with our neighbors. You know what I mean? People may not consider it neighbors, but Mexico's neighbors. They're we don't need to be so. You know what I mean? Like I mean, just move things closer. I mean, Target, Walmart, and places are like, no, just keep your products, but that's going to create problems financially. It's not, it's people haven't done the math, but it's more expensive to do products here, like in California, than it is like in Georgia, where they pay 7 something for your wage. Oh, by the way, the wage actually just went up, I believe, here in California. Did you see that?
No, I did not. What are we at now?
Well, it is the one that everybody agreed to back when. Sometimes, like, when people vote and they kind of put these up, and people are like, are you going to do it? They say yes, but they don't do it right away. So a lot of people are going to see a little bump in their checks. It says, let's see, LA minimum wage increases July 1st. Oh, there it is. This is the one that was proposed a while back, and then they approved it, and people were like, yay, but they didn't get it right away, all right? Because it's like, okay, now it's going to be in this, So according to this, minimum wage goes up Friday. Effective July 1st, the city's minimum wage, let's say, at least for LA, it looks like, will increase from $15 per hour to $16.04 per hour for all covered employees. Covered employees are defined by law as those who perform at least 2 hours of work in any week within city limits. This includes full-time, part-time, seasonal, and temporary employees. Again, each city is different. No, just want to let you guys know that. So check with your own city. It's not always across the board. Hotel employers with 150 or more guest rooms will be required to pay an even higher minimum wage. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Of $18.17. I wonder how that's going to affect the deals that they either have or don't have. Full-time covered hotel employees will also receive 96 compensated hours off per year for sick leave, vacation, or personal necessity. That's when you apply to a job and you're like, what are the fringe benefits? It's that. LA has its own paid sick leave requirements that exceed California's requisite hours. LA employers must either grant 48 hours at the beginning of each year or a 12-month period, or allow accrual at no less than 1 hour for every 30 hours worked. Employers may cap usage at 48 hours of leave annually, but they cannot cap a total accrual to less than 72 hours. I have no idea what that means. I'm just reading it. Hopefully you get it. The minimum wage in unincorporated areas of LA County. Okay, that's why it's a little all over the board. Got it. If you're incorporated, and I know to people it's like, dude, you live in LA. There's sections of LA that are kind of deemed as, I don't know, how would you explain that, Jesse?
Yeah, we all have that over here too. This like portion sectioned off that says Wait, what did you call it?
This says unincorporated. So there's
Yeah,
incorporated and then unincorporated.
I really don't know what that means, but yeah, we have parts of Moreno Valley and stuff like that. That's called like unincorporated Moreno Valley or unincorporated Hemet.
Yeah, exactly. So all I know is like on the Thomas guide I used to use way back when, it would say like, do you remember that? Do you remember?
My God, yes, I remember the giant Thomas guides.
Yeah,
Yes, I remember.
yeah. They had L.A. corporate like, or I never understood it. All I knew was like you were blessed if you lived in it. I think corporate area, and this is like obvious. So if you live in an area like that or you do business in like that, you have to pay a little higher. But if you live in other areas of LA, you have a little lower. Not by much though. Let's see. The price that I just said, because some people were like, no, I heard 1604. 1604 for LA corporated areas. Okay, make sure you know where you're at. And then in unincorporated areas, it's 1596 an hour as of July 1st, according to the Department of Business and Consumer Affairs. The rate marks a 6.4% increase over the current $15 hour minimum wage. Again, that's here in LA. For those in other states, are like, I don't get that much. The rate has, and by the way, it's not a lot in comparison to all the prices going up. I know people say that and it sounds like a thing, but when you have to live in the area. Now, I would say this. If you have a virtual job that's in LA, right, this is where it makes sense. Like, okay, let's say San Francisco, right? San Francisco, I don't know what their minimum wage is, but it's higher than ours in LA. Perfect example, all right? If I wanted to get a job in San Francisco, I would get a job virtually, but I'd move to like Ohio, and then my buck would go further. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So that's the trick of the trade. Okay. So just note that. The rate marks a 6.4% increase over the current $15 hour minimum wage. The rate has risen steadily since 2016 when the county adopted a minimum wage ordinance that slowly increased the amount annually, reaching $15 an hour. I remember this one on July 1st, 2020 for large businesses and on July 1st, 2021 for smaller businesses. That was the one that everybody was like, no, don't do it because now we're going to have to pay more at the employee or, basically whatever it is that they're producing, everything's got to go up because you got to compensate for minimum wage. And actually, that's true. So the question is, are things going to go up? I say yes. Oh, no. I wonder if businesses were ready for this, right? Because it's mandatory, especially in LA. So check your local area because a lot of people are going to say, wait a minute, why hasn't I checked this? So just know your area and then you know the minimum. I know sometimes I ask people their minimum wage and they go, huh? And I go, yeah, no, it's important to know your minimum wage. That way you know if you're getting paid minimum, right? But it's different every city and every county. So kind of look that up, see that, and then you'll understand. All right. All right, got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more right after these messages. Stay tuned.
Tried shipping a package lately? It's amazing how difficult and time-consuming it can be. Packing envelopes, boxes, second-day ground, next-day air, it's all enough to give you a headache. Next time, do yourself a favor, go with the pros at the UPS store in Beaumont. They'll pack it right and let you know all your shipping options. You can also take care of everyday tasks like copies, faxing, notary services, and live scan fingerprinting. And while you're there, pay your Edison, gas company, and Verizon bills. Open extended hours Monday through Saturday. The UPS store in Beaumont, located in the Oak Valley Plaza at 1440 Beaumont Avenue. Call 951-769-5956. That's 951-769-5956. Online at the upsstorelocal.com/5027 or Google 5027.
For all you truck and RV enthusiasts, TruckWorks right here in Banning is your one-stop shop for the best diesel performance and overall truck and RV needs. Whether you're towing, racing, off-road, or just cruising around town, TruckWorks specializes in truck and RV service, maintenance, repair, and performance upgrades for every light and medium-duty truck manufacturer. Bring it down to Terry and the guys at TruckWorks. Call 951-922-4776 or visit their website at mydieseldown.com today.
Ruth didn't know she was leaving for good. She knew he would kill her. Could she save herself? Did she feel she was worth saving? How could she best protect her children? To love, honor, and betray, Ruth Tunnicliffe shares her true tale. from submissive to survivor, then thriver, now living a proud, purposeful life as an optimistic, inspiring, peaceful warrior. Can a person heal from feeling the guilt of a decision altering many lives, weighted by living grief, moving through lessons learned, self-discovery, and land in self-love? Can someone who's been abused in every way move to self-trust, confidence, and arrive at living in peace? To love, honor, and betray, a sincere, honest letter to herself and her adult children, Ruth Tunnicliffe shares her story so that others may also find the inspiring, peaceful warrior within. Amazon worldwide, Barnes & Noble, RuthTunnicliffe.com.
The Holiday Inn Express in Suites and Banning is distinctively suited for your travel time out of the car. Off the road, you'll find a courteous, welcoming staff and spacious rooms with desks, flat-screen HD TVs, and comfortable furnishings. Enjoy the complimentary breakfast buffet, high-speed internet, and fitness center and pool. The Holiday Inn Express in Suites and Banning, convenient near golf, gaming, and entertainment. For reservations and information, call 951-572-5500. That's 951-572-5500, or go online at hiebanning.com.
Welcome back. Yes, it is the morning show here on ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 AM. Not going to lie, I'm seeing this news, although it doesn't really say anything, but it is interesting. I'm not sure exactly how it rolls. If anybody knows this, then kind of let us know. And here's the headline. It just was published as of yesterday. It says, more victims possible in Bell Gardens online renters fraud scheme. That's according to police. The area in question is Bell Gardens, and they say you may be a victim of an online renter scheme. Police said there's a suspect who has victimized low-income families, specifically at 7007 Perry Road since 2021. It says, according to authorities, the victims have lost thousands of dollars in security deposits at the address. No other information is immediately available. I think they need to kind of let us know what it is that people are kind of like signing up for, right? They say if you believe you or someone you may know has been a victim of this online renters fraud scheme, then contact Detective Tamayo at 562-806-7613. That's 562-806-7613. Again, 562-806-7613. I kind of have an idea, but I don't have an idea what they're talking about. Do you, Jesse?
I have no clue.
Yeah. They're going to have to find out more information about this. Because I did find another article, so I put that in, like, online renters, and like, how does this work? And I'm seeing some other things, like in international waters, which this has been kind of a thing as well. Maybe let me maybe somebody else has more idea on this, because it's a thing that you need to be aware of when it comes to, like, okay, a lot of people have been evicted as of late, right? But sometimes they've been evicted not the right way. Like, there's nothing. I'll give you a perfect example, okay? My mom and me were actually given several eviction notices, but they were wrong. They were basically typed out to make it look like it was legal, but it wasn't legal. They never went through the proper, like, system, which is court, right? So I'm always like, they're going to evict us. I said, don't worry about it. We'll make it do, because coronavirus hit all of us, right? And so we were finally able to make do. They never evicted us. That's the news. But they kind of strong-armed other people in the same area, okay? I saw people moving out all of a sudden, like overnight, right? Because they're like, oh, no, I'm going to be evicted. Everybody's, like, fearful, right? But honestly, that paperwork is not legal. And people, if they, like, actually, like, you get it, like, some people use non-legal means to kind of scare you into kind of moving out because they want their money. And I get that. But you have protection under at least the U.S. law, right? So when you have that protection, you have the ability to say, okay, when you sign something, you put a deposit down, that paperwork has something there. That means you have an agreement, right? But if you're, like, late on your rent or late on something else, they can only do so much depending on your area, right? So there are housing laws, okay, and there are renter laws, and there are things, I'm not gonna lie, there are some people that take advantage of the system and they push it out. But I remember one person who had a family, she was like, well, we're fighting it in court, but it took her, like, I think 6 months. Now, it's no fun for apartment managers and landlords that kind of are, dealing with it. That's why they usually go through a service, because it's no fun trying to get your money when in reality sometimes it's skewed in the renters, you know what I mean? Because you could pay technically nothing for at least 6 months and still be there, and then when you move out, it's still difficult to finally get the money back, right? So in that way, it's difficult if you're a landlord, okay? If you have property, you want somebody to obviously pay. That's why you check the credit. That's why you check to see if they're responsible financially, and if they're going to make payments, due. That's why you usually do that, right? That's why I say to people that invest in property, do certain things to see a certain type of, if you're going to give access to somebody to move in certain places. Now, there's certain laws which kind of inhibit that, but other let's say you have a rental place, Jesse. Do you want somebody to ruin it and then leave graffiti all over the place and never take care of the residents? And you maybe live in, I don't know, Washington, and you're you come back after they finally move out because you went through legal means, and you're like, oh my god, my place is a dump. I mean, you get it. You want to kind of know who you rent to, who you get money from, right?
Right, because I've seen tons of videos where people are like, oh, I hate my landlord or whatever. They're leaving for whatever reason, and they deliberately just trash stuff for no reason, just because they can and they're petty.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of my point about that. But on the flip side of that, renters have a protection thing. That's why the moratorium was put in place for that reason. So people were trying to evict people before the moratorium, and then as the moratorium wasn't extended at certain times, certain people went to the legal means, and did, in essence, kind of start to evict people. But it takes a process to do that. Okay. Now, before coronavirus, I remember there was a story that somebody wanted me to cover, and I almost did. I wish I had, to be honest. And it was about a whole kind of an attorney that kind of took advantage of the law, and he's like, well, a lot of people don't know the law, so you can evict them without them showing up to court. So you could basically put it into effect, but because they don't know they need to show up to court to kind of there's a lot of things that you could do. You could state your case, you could say, okay, I need to make payment plan, or I plan to pay, but if you don't show up to court, it's automatically against you, right? If you've ever been summoned to court and you don't show up, well, the people that show up, basically it rules in their favor, right? That's why people go, oh, I'm going to fight a ticket, hoping that the cop doesn't show up, right? And then the cop shows up, you're like, shoot, right? So that's always, I go, just pay it, man. Just get over it, right? But some are mandatory, right? I had a perfect example when I came back from Arizona. I got a ticket. I had a mandatory court date, and I'm like, how am I going to come back? I don't want to drive all the way back to Arizona. And I kind of made a little stink, but then they're like, oh, that's why we are on Zoom. I'm like, shoot, you got me. Okay, so you could do that, right? And they do that for a reason, but anyway, it was neither here nor there. I basically had to pay, and they said, are you guilty? Not guilty? I go, fine, I'm guilty, whatever. But yeah, so I didn't fight it, whatever. What am I going to do? But back to laws, you do have the ability to honestly fight some things that are kind of strong-armed, and especially during coronavirus, a lot of people kind of gave up during coronavirus, thinking, well, I know we're not supposed to be pushed out, but we are being pushed out. Like in Texas, I remember hearing of certain things. People were being evicted all of a sudden, but you could fight that. Okay, some people think they don't want to fight it, but I say fight it, especially if you're in the right. Okay, there's a reason people lost their jobs. There's a reason people are not as secure as possible. There's a reason there were certain funds set aside for people that need the ability to pay down, because coronavirus shut everything down. Remember that? And so everybody got oh no money, right? It was a mandatory. I had a discussion with someone in Florida, which I've been a long-time friend of. She's great at what she does, and her father too, but she's her father's caretaker, right? And she was saying, I don't know what to do with this month's rent. I don't know what to do. And she lives in Florida. And Florida is not very promising to people, that are renters there. So I don't know her law there. But I was like, well, in California, there's certain protection. I don't know if you apply for that. But, she's like, no, the Sanchez is this, that, and the other. And I go, okay, all right, I get it. But if you live in a state which actually provides the ability to kind of, cover your rent, I would see that first. I know a lot of that kind of ended all of a sudden right before, I think it was in, I think the end of May, something like that. And they reported on the news, they're like, today's your last day. I'm like, you couldn't tell people that ahead of time. So, but yeah, it basically, look, if you made use of it, and then you got things paid for. And I'm not going to lie, back to the place that we're at, one was like, just apply for this or that. And I go, well, yeah, but the way you're doing it is wrong. I'm not going to sign that. And I didn't. I signed that I actually received the information. But I'm like, deal with me, not my mom. Because my mom was like, oh, we're going to be evicted. I'm like, no, Mom, we'll make do. Trust me. And we're there, right? So we're obviously not being evicted. That's the point. But my point is this. If you're in an area that they do this, you have protection. That's the biggest point, okay? And if you're a landlord, do it the right way, right? Which is honestly make what I would do, honestly, because here's the thing people don't understand, but you should. As long as you're not tearing up the place and making it look like horrible, if they can make the means to do so to pay, then see that first, because no one wants an empty place. It takes time to fill it back up, right? You got to go through the paperwork, you got to go through all that. And some people just, find a hard time called, hello, coronavirus. So if you have the ability, try to keep those because sometimes they're long-term, right? And you want to keep that place because now you don't have to, especially if they don't like let's say your place is good, but they don't like make a stink about everything. Those are easy renters, right? That's easy cash. You want cash coming in no matter what. You do not want vacancies because that means you need more work for the area rather than just, maintenance, because it's usually just maintenance, right? But areas that are not like well taken care of, those areas are really bad. So I would say don't move in an area like that, but move in with family, right? Like, rent a room out from them. You know what I mean? Offer that first. That's what I would do. If you find yourself in hard straits because financially you're just like, I cannot make the rent, just say, you know what? Do you have a room for rent? Because that's all you really need at the end of the day. And then save up and then move to an area where you can make sense, right? And technically, have that person as just pay monthly and then have them as your kind of reference, there's a way to do it. I know there is. But anyway, that's my point. I'm going to stick to that, and there you go. All right. I don't know. Why did I come up with that? Oh, because there's a scam going on in Bell Gardens. So we'll find out more about that in the days ahead. I don't know what it is about deposits, right? Right? Like, how did I get on that tangent?
Oh, you forgot how you got to that whole little speech thing that you were talking about?
Yeah, I'm like, what is going on there? But Bell Gardens, there's a scam. If you feel you've been part of a scam, you haven't got your deposit back, or there's something going on, then make sure to report it, okay? We'll give that number out again. I don't want to throw the guy's face up, because what if he's, not the right guy? But Detective Tamayo, again, if you're in Bell Gardens or in another area, I'm pretty sure this is one of those, like, once it gets out, everybody understands. 562-806-7613. 562-806-7613. Again, that number is 562-806-7613. They're calling it a renter's fraud scheme. It's an online renter's fraud scheme. I don't even know what that means. So, I think I know now. I just got it, Jesse. What if you're able to get a place ahead of time? Oh, I just got it now because I remember somebody telling me this. There are ways to get a rental place ahead of time online. You throw your documents. You don't have to visit in person. You're like, okay, I'm moving there. I want this ready to go. But then they renege on it, right? They're like, oh, send me a deposit, right? And then they renege on it, but actually they're not even the one to own the building. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. So they're pretending to rent out the property, but not really renting it out. Like give me a deposit and we'll get it ready for you.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm not going to lie, this is a thing that's actually, okay, I'm going to go ahead into this because this is very interesting. This happened, all right, this was published a week ago from a completely different area of the country, all right? This is the UK, by the way, and we love people in the UK. Big shout out to the Ukrainians. Let's see, according to this, okay, this is a whole other story, okay? If you were in the UK, according to this, it says renters could get back up to 12 months worth of housing payments under little-known rules. Landlords must follow the law, true, like making sure they have a license for property with several people living there. It says they must follow the correct rules when turfing out tenants from their homes, like giving them enough notice. Renters could be owed a refund if the property owner doesn't follow the rules. That's true. and it could be worth thousands of pounds in some cases. Again, this is Europe, so they deal in pounds, we deal in dollars. Tenants who think their landlord has broken the rules can apply for what's known as a rent repayment order, or RRO for short. Good to know. Renters have to prove to a tribunal called judge that the landlord has broken the rules. It can then order rent to be repaid to the tenants or housing benefit in the housing element of universal credit if these help cover housing costs. Again, universal credit's good in Europe, not here, even though it says universal. This could be as much as 12 months worth of rent depending on circumstances. For example, houses of multiple occupations, known as HMOs, again, has nothing to do with insurance. That's how Europeans talk. Love you guys. Where there are several people living together in a separate rooms must have a license. Other types of rental property may also have to be licensed under local council rules. Landlords without a license can be ordered to repay tenants' rent if they don't have a license. That's interesting. The amount you get paid back is, the amount you get back is, if successful, depends on how much rent you paid. Example, if you pay £500 a month in rent, you may be entitled to a refund worth £6,000 in total if the landlord is ordered to repay the full amount. Pretty good to know. Or if you pay £90 a week in rent, you may be owed $4,680 in total. It says how to make a claim for rent back. Okay, so this is something where basically somebody doesn't have a license for something, and you basically live rent-free because you fight it. You see what I mean? There's so many different rules in this. Anyway, this is not the same. Evidently, this is something else. But if you're in Europe and you're listening, you could have your rent paid for by government. Meaning they say, no, you didn't do it right. Don't worry about that. There's a refund. And then you can move elsewhere, right? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, there you go. Oh, here it is. There it is. It says, this is interesting. It says a rent repayment order can force a landlord to return money for breaking rules. A tenant or the council can apply for this through a tribunal court, and a council might offer help doing this as they run the licensing scheme. Here you go. There may be fees involved, but these can be claimed back if successful. That's according to Housing Charity Shelter. And there are organizations that are nonprofits which actually help you as a renter, because many times renters don't have the money for an attorney, but they will let you know what your rights are. So know your rights before you get evicted, okay? Because sometimes it's hard to make a payment, which in this case, back to Florida, she couldn't make due on I think 3 payments, right? But she wanted to pay it down because she was struggling to get the money and honestly asked for the money from friends and family and relatives to say, hey, can you help me out? She didn't ask me for money. She's just just what do I do? And I'm like, well, I'll do this, do that, do this. But there you go. Okay, so it goes back to this. A property without a license is not the only thing that can break the rules. According to Justice for Tenants, love it, I love the name, a nonprofit that helps renters make claims, again, this is Europe, it's different every city and state. The property you are renting does not have a license, the landlord has not complied with the council notice, the tenant has been harassed or evicted without the correct court paperwork. Now, that third part is the same thing. They are putting these papers as though it's court when it's not. That's highly, 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 well, I'm not going to do it, but I'm just saying if you have that. Take them to court. It says the Section 21 no-fault notice is commonly used to evict tenants who are renting a property. The government has promised to ban these type of evictions, smart, and strengthen the rights of more than 11 million Britons who rent homes. Wow. It still needs to pass into law, and until then, there are certain rules landlords have to follow when they evict you. True, true, true. That's exactly what I was saying. So, remember, you have rights, okay? And some landlords don't want you to know that because they're like, shoot. But it is hard to evict somebody. It really is. You have to go through a process. Now, if the sheriff come to your home and or residence or, hello, bank-owned, right, repossess, then you're pretty much right. But I would still fight it if you didn't get the proper notice. Be like, I didn't know there was a court thing without my... And that's the thing. In order to evict you, they have to show up in court, and they have to give you the right to show up in court as well. That's what you need to know, okay? So if they all of a sudden are there, and you're like, I didn't get it, they're like, well, too bad, so sad. That's the sheriff's duty to help move you out, because that's a court order eviction. But it has to be court obtained in court, but the landlord should show up, and you should show up. But usually, they pay a service. That's where the attorney was, banking. He's like, I'll go. You don't even have to show up. I'll be there. You just pay me, and then we evict them, right? And that's kind of where it goes awry. I guarantee this is a problem in the U.S., all right? And so renters know that you are protected under certain laws because there are some people that don't go by the rules, and then they bank on it. Now, let me throw this out there, and I guarantee this is going to come up, Jesse. This is very interesting. There are those that are landlords and are conglomerate of like people that own like a specific apartment complex. Let's say there's like 20 units, right? They and or you can file for compensation from COVID. Did you know that, Jesse?
I did not know that.
So it's called double dipping. Okay. So in essence, they can get paid from you, but say they didn't pay me and still apply, get reimbursed, and then boom, you get it? All they need to do is act like the renter because they have all your information. They apply for it online. They say, okay, we get it. And then they move the paperwork forward, right? That happened in 2020, 2021, and parts of 2022. Now, they got smart and they're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So they're going to go back to that and say, wait a minute, just like all those little things that we kind of report, but we don't report about how people kind of made use of small business reimbursement. Remember that? There was all of a sudden money, and then there was no money, and then people were like, where's my money? And then it was hard, and then people like spent it over like Lamborghinis and property, and now they're in trouble because government's like, that's not the rule. The rule was this. It was for people impacted with COVID. Doesn't mean you have more money to spend on something else, and it was meant to be on your business. They're like, that is my business. but then they're, so they're fleeing from the law, right? There's a couple people wanted, on FBI and others that kind of fled from this. But my point is this, all right? There's a lot of things, a lot of money. Just do it the right way, and then you'll be fine. Okay, so if you take certain protection, do the protection. Don't feel bad about it. Just take it, because then that puts more money in your pocket long term. That way you could rebound eventually. That is why it's there, okay? There's no shame in it. Just like I say, there's no shame in bankruptcy. If you have to go that route. If you could fight it, great. But at the end of the day, if you have a family, don't have your family suffer because of the situation we're all in together with COVID and other things. That's why I say make use of it, worst case scenario, and don't hurt your families. You know what I mean? A lot of people have families. So, if you're single, I get do it or don't do it, but, don't hurt your family in the process. That's my point. I'm going to stick to that, okay? So there are certain things. You can look it up, just do research, and then see if it's available. If it's already not available, I'm pretty sure, I think somebody was talking about making it available again because people are still suffering, and they don't want what do they say whenever they say no vacancies? They don't want any vacancies long term because then nobody wins on that, right? So don't raise the prices in the meantime to compensate for people that didn't pay you. Just make use of certain funds if they're available. All right, so there you go. That's your information. If you're a landlord and you're hating my information here, you can still apply for those legally and legit, saying, oh, this renter didn't pay, that renter didn't pay, and this renter didn't pay. But you can apply for it, and then they'll follow up on it and then get you reimbursed. All right, people. We got to go. Make it a great day, whatever you do. Remember, life is worth living, so live it well. Bye-bye, everyone.